Happy Friday. Today we're talking about a George Pickens interview gone wrong. And did Kenny Pickett, after his first Eagles start, take a shot at the Steelers? All that and more. Big Deep News. So if you guys didn't see it by now, here's George Pickens responding, or maybe you could say not responding, to a question regarding him and Russell Wilson being on the same page on the Russell Wilson interception play against the Chiefs on Christmas.
George, it seemed like you and Russ weren't on the same page on that interception against the Chiefs. How does that happen, and what do you guys do to address it?
You said me and Russ wasn't on the same page?
Yeah, well, that's what he said.
That's what he said?
Yeah.
Or is that what you said?
That's what he said.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you just address that?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
To be honest with you guys, the reporter's not wrong here. Not at all. I thought the initial question was fair, and yeah, clearly Russell and Pickens weren't on the same page. Am I missing something here? Like, not only did we see the play firsthand, we got to hear Burleson on the broadcast talk about how Pickens didn't run the right route.
I assume that George Pickens is also supposed to run and go in order to hold that safety.
And T.O. on Twitter calling out Pickens, saying like he needed to run the vertical there to clear out Freiermuth. Big Ben on his podcast said the same thing. And then, you know, the fact too, Russell Wilson said it himself in his post-game press conference that he was expecting Pickens to do one thing and he didn't do that. Doesn't that equal not being on the same page?
Counting on George to go vertical and carry that safety, or can you explain that for us?
Yeah, I think he's going to go vertical, but at the end of the day, it can't happen. On me, I was trying to give Pat a chance. He's hadn't done such a good job for us down the red zone, and they made a good play.
And I'm seeing a lot of the reaction pouring in on social media about this exchange, and a lot of people are defending Pickens here, which I'm surprised by. Maybe I guess you could defend him in that he didn't disrespect anyone or say anything outlandish, and I guess he has the right to not answer the question. Maybe he could have just done the beast mode again like he did a few weeks ago, where he just says, I'm not here, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
But him pulling up the mask and just saying, I'm done with this interview, just because I don't like the question or I don't like how we're interacting here. I mean, it's just immature. He handled it poorly. I'm not surprised. What else is new? But I'm also not stressing over it, because I actually think Pickens is trending in the right direction in terms of being a teammate and a professional, at least within the locker room, at least within the Steelers organization. Now, him in the media, that's a different story. I don't know if he's necessarily improving in that regard. He's either staying the same or maybe he's taking a step back at this point. But I don't really care what Pickens has to say to the media. I don't really need to hear from Pickens in the media, because it's clear that he doesn't handle these situations well. He's not really wired for the media, and that's fine. He does need to handle himself better. He does need to grow up, but still, I think we know who Pickens is at this point, and how he deals with the media. It's unique, but that comes with the job. He needs to learn that, and I think he even knows that. Ryan Clark on First Take today said that he was out in training camp, and whenever he talked to Pickens and he even talked to Tomlin, they all agreed that, there is some growing up that needs to happen.
George understands that he has to grow. Coach Tomlin understands that there's some immaturity there in the way that he behaves or reacts in certain situations, but he embraces that. It's the reason George Pickens went second round. He's a top-tier talent.
My guess is Pickens wasn't paying attention like that to what Russ was saying in the post-game press conference and didn't know that Russ said what he said. So he's probably heard some of the other stuff, though, that he's at fault for that play. People are calling him out, thinking that he's half-assing it again. So with the reporter asking that question, Pickens probably got on the defensive, thought that the reporter was targeting him or something, and wanted to go back at him saying, are you the one saying that, or did Russ say that? And the reporter actually was right in his response, because Russ clearly did indicate that Pickens and the quarterback weren't on the same page on that play. So, yeah, I think he was just like, I'm just going to put up my face, man. I'm done dealing with this. And again, I think Pickens was not in the right here. Reporter did nothing wrong. Just a weird exchange, just a tense exchange, awkward exchange that didn't need to happen. And I think Pickens is the reason that it happened. You know what I mean? Because again, reporter just doing his job. Pickens, if you answer that in a way, literally, where you're just saying, yeah, you know what, we weren't on the same page there, but we're getting things ironed out, and that's that. It could have been the most simple response possible. Yeah, we're working through it. It was a tough play, tough moment, but we're gonna get back on track. That's all. But instead, here we are on a Friday, a day before a pretty big game on Week 18 against a division rival, where we could knock them out of the playoffs, where we could solidify our seeding and give ourselves a good advantage going into the playoffs. Whether it is giving us home field advantage or giving us that first home playoff game in a minute, based off depending on what the Ravens do in the game before, or if we win, we got the better matchup in that wild card game going on the road, playing the Texans as opposed to maybe playing the Baltimore Ravens. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is, man. I mean, this is just kind of what we've been getting with Pickens over the last 3 years. I ain't stressing about it too much. He needs to be better, clearly, in how he handles the media. I think Tomlin would admit that, too. I think Tomlin has admitted that in the past, so this isn't really a step in the right direction. But I do think Pickens, in terms of being a teammate, in terms of being a professional within the realms of the field and the organization and being in the locker room, has been good this year. Has been pretty solid this year. I mean, there has been a couple hiccups, but I think it's been more mild as opposed to years prior, particularly that year 2. We were just talking about the snap management stuff and maybe the half-ass route running on a couple plays in, like, what was that, week 4, week 5? Outside of that, yeah, I think Pickens has done a decent job. I think. Last thing. I wasn't even going to talk about this because I think people are blowing this out of proportion as well. Kenny Pickett, after his first Eagles start, had his little post-game press conference and, was asked about the vibes with the team right now, and he had this to say.
It's very much a college team feel here. Everyone cares about each other, and, when the ball gets spotted, we're going to leave it all out there, put it on the line for each other. So that's incredibly special. It's not like that everywhere. So, extremely grateful to be here. And
people are taking what Pickett had to say here and are making it out to be that Pickett is calling out the Steelers in an indirect way, particularly if you look at those last couple lines where he says it's incredibly special. It's not like that everywhere. I'm extremely grateful to be here. So if you're doing the detective work, if you're trying to put 2 and 2 together, what 2 places has Pickett played thus far in his NFL career? And that was Pittsburgh in 2022, 2023, and then this year in 2024, it's the Eagles. So if he's saying it's not like that everywhere, is he calling out the Steelers, taking a shot at them? I don't know, man. I feel like that's a big time reach. I feel like if anything, Pickett he's just trying to talk about how pumped he is to be an Eagle, and he's just trying to be more pro-Eagle or more positive on being an Eagle as opposed to taking shots at the Steelers or anything, especially since he never said anything about the Steelers. And I think you could even look at it another way, too, in that, Pickett, I mean, I'm sure he has connections in the NFL. I'm sure he knows players on other teams and talks to these players on other teams about what it's like there and understands that, it's not like this. Eagles are a good organization, right? And I think Steelers are a good organization, too. So I'm sure he hears what it's like on a bunch of different teams or what it's like with a bunch of different organizations, and they don't exactly do it the same way a team like the Eagles does or a team like the Steelers does too. So, yeah, obviously his tenure here with the Steelers didn't end well, so maybe, yes, he is more happy to be an Eagle than a Steeler. But I just think this is a stretch, man. And his first press conference after his first start as an Eagle, I'm guessing the Steelers aren't on his mind like that. Maybe a little bit, because I feel like all athletes to a degree, they got a chip on their shoulder. They're a little petty here or there, but the best we could do is assume, is speculate that he's taking a shot at the Steelers. And, if that's the case, then what are we doing? Trying to talk about it. Like, who cares? What does it change? What does it change? Because clearly the ending here wasn't good between Pickett and the Steelers. You're going back to being on the same page. Pickett and the Steelers organization, Pickett and Tomlin, Pickett and the coaching staff, they weren't on the same page. It was a tumultuous ending. So if he did actually take a shot at the Steelers, like, what does it change? Who cares? And he didn't directly take a shot at the Steelers anyway. So, like, what are we talking about? We're just completely speculating and talking about hypotheticals, and that's that. We're here in 2024, and we got Russell Wilson as our quarterback. We got Fields as our quarterback. That's what I'm more worried about right now. I think it's a different story. Like, if Pickett, I think it's a whole different conversation. If a few years, Pickett ends up being a starter, whether it's with the Eagles or elsewhere, and he's lighting up, I think we can legit have conversations about whether or not the Steelers did Pickett wrong, or did the Steelers make a mistake of moving off of Pickett. And in a way, I guess I did hint at that a couple videos ago whenever I was talking about Pickett's first start. And I do think, in a way, the Steelers didn't really do right by Pickett completely, but he didn't do right by himself, and he was injured too much, and it didn't work out. Clearly wasn't meant to be. If you had asked me, I don't even know if any of you guys would believe me either. If you had asked me, if I had to, like, in terms of, let's take Russ out of it because of the age and everything. If you had to ask me what quarterback I would take for the Steelers' future, knowing what we know right now, all this new information, Fields or Pickett, I'd go with Justin Fields.
I don't believe you.
I think he does have the higher ceiling. I think he proved a lot this year by leading the Steelers to that 4-2 record in those 6 games, and it could have even been a better record. It could have been 5-1, maybe even 6-0, because I think he was a pretty steadying force with that offense. I'd argue in that first half of the season, that first third of the season, he was the team MVP. He still has a lot of potential, still has a high ceiling, but was playing winning football. I think he increased his floor in those 6 games, so I would actually go with Fields. I would, and I don't know if any of you guys believe me on that, but hey, I think the Steelers are in a decent spot. It was just a weird time for those last couple years and how we were handling the quarterback situation and just what was going on with Pickett, Mitch, and Mason, and we're at where we're at right now. So that's it for today's show. Let me know your thoughts on Pickens and his exchange with the media reporter, and then if you think Pickett was taking a shot at the Steelers in those post-game press conference comments. But that's it. Stay chilling. Have a good weekend. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll be doing the post-game report over on Bleach Report, and then, I'll be reposting it over here, so check that out. Stay chilling. Peace.